What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's Topic Thursday once again. It's your boy Alvin.
And it's Yoshi. And we're going to be talking to you guys about real estate, specifically the Millennial Buyer's Guide to Purchasing a Home in 2020.
Don't go anywhere. Lots of good information coming your way. Ooh, double jab. I like that.
Double jab!
All right, folks, so, when it comes to buying a home, there's a ton of information out there as far as what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and it gets a little bit overwhelming, really, as far as where you should even start. But what we would always recommend is kind of the very first thing is look at your credit. Where is your credit at? I mean, credit is so important. I always bash school because I feel like when I was in school, they never even stressed the importance of it. But today we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do about your credit and where your credit should be. So Yoshi, can you tell us a little bit about what your credit score should be at least?
Yes, so we always recommend, obviously, the higher your credit, the better. Why is higher credit better? Because you get a better interest rate, and everything ends up being a lot less expensive when you have higher credit.
Yeah.
Really, here in Central Florida, if you're going to be using down payment assistance, we recommend that everybody has a minimum credit score of at least a 640. That's going to be able to help you utilize a down payment assistance if that is what you need. If you don't need down payment assistance, I think the lowest that you can purchase a home is 580.
Yeah, it's 580.
580, the down payment may be higher, but you are able to purchase a home with a 580.
Yeah, and like Yoshi just said, you can buy a home at 580, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to look for your best interest. The higher, the better. You'll have a better interest rate. You'll qualify for programs like down payment assistance and other programs as well. So now some of you may be thinking, okay, shoot, my credit score is not 640, it's 570, or it's not, it's 590. How do I raise it up? What do I got to do to raise my credit scores? And there's different methods of doing so, but one of the easiest methods that I find I always recommend is, looking at your credit card, looking at what is the maximum amount of that credit card. So let's say your max amount is $1,000, where that's your limit, right? So you want to have less than 30%. So if it's 1,000, no more than 300. If it's 10,000, no more than 3,000. Obviously, the lower the better. But that's kind of the rule of thumb. There's this huge misconception that, when you have a credit card, you need to max out your credit cards to build credit, and that's not true at all. That's how you get into trouble as far as, debt, and really a lot of people do that, and they struggle really so much to get out of that situation. So super important, make sure you keep it less than 30%, and really, and if you don't have debt on your credit card, let's say you use it for like gas, that's totally fine. That's gonna help you build your credit.
Yeah, it definitely is going to help, and I'm sure plenty of you are like me, maybe not like Alvin because he's real responsible. And we might have all gone a little crazy Black Friday shopping, but make sure that you get those credit balances down under 30% because it's really going to help you boost your credit the fastest way possible. So this is just obviously one of many ways to be able to do this.
Yeah.
One of the next things that we want to talk to you guys about, which is something that it's a really big common misconception. This is the way that it was maybe for our parents or our parents' parents, which is the amount of money that you need saved up. Before, it used to be that most homes you needed 20% down.
Yeah.
That is no longer the rule.
Nope.
No. I mean, you can put 20% down if you have the money.
Yeah, if you have the money.
You got that 20.
And it might work for you.
And it might work for you. Put that 20% if you got it. But if you don't have the 20% down, right now, the average down payment is between 3% to 5%. Obviously, it varies depending on the loan program that you have, so talk to your lender about that. But it's between 3 to 5%. Yeah. So there's no longer that 20%, so it's not outrageous to think that you can buy a house any longer.
Definitely not.
Is it just down payment all you need?
No, so we have the down payment, like Yoshi says, 3 to 5% depending on the program, and you also have your closing costs. So closing costs is essentially the fee that the title company charges you. Typically, it can range from like 4 to 5%, or is it 3?
Between 3 to 4%.
3 to 4%, yeah. And sometimes us realtors can definitely negotiate that for you to make sure you don't get all that amount charged to you.
Yeah, and what Alvin's specifically talking about is that when we are going out there and writing offers for you, we have the ability of asking the seller to pay for the buyer's closing costs. So essentially what Alvin's saying is that there's a pro and con to us doing that. The con is that the seller is paying for a cost that's essentially the buyer's, which makes your offer a little bit not as strong. I'm not saying that it's completely impossible for your offer to get picked, but it just makes your offer not as strong because it's a buyer cost that the seller is going to be going and paying for.
Yeah. Just always weighing out your options and what makes more sense with the current situation.
Exactly. And again, speak to your lender. The lender's going to know your financials. Your realtor is also going to be able to assist you because they're going to be working cohesively with the lender, and they're going to be able to guide you in the best way possible so that it's the least amount of money that's coming out of your pocket.
And now that we're actually talking about lenders, one thing that I always recommend to my clients, and I know that Yoshi does as well, is if you have if you don't know where your finances are, you don't know where your credit is, and you just don't have any idea where anything is for your financial stuff, go ahead and sit down and talk to a lender. You're not committing to anything. They're not going to charge you. That way they can sit down, understand where you're at, and you can kind of make a game plan. So maybe you're not ready tomorrow or the next year or the next year, but when that time does come, you want to make sure that you're informed, you're ready, and you've done your homework as far as getting ready for that.
Yeah, and we hear it so often that people are like, I'll be ready to buy a house in 2 years. Okay, and I asked them, what's the game plan?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saving money. I'm like, okay, but do you know your credit's at? I don't know. I'm working on my credit. It's important to know the facts.
Yeah.
You need to know how you're gonna get from destination A to destination B. A lender is just like Alvin said. It doesn't cost a penny. They literally sit down with you. They're able to guide you in the real estate aspect on how to get to where you need to get to. And it happens especially with 1099 employees. You're filing your taxes to where maybe there's too many deductions and now you can't buy a house. Sit with the lender. The lender is going to be able to guide you so that you know the process on what you have to do. Another key player that's going to be helping you along this process is going to be a realtor, which is us. It's us. So realtors, there's a misconception on realtors. Realtors do not cost the buyer's agent nothing. We are free. Hi.
Free 99.
Free 99 for you, maybe for you.
Maybe not you. Understand.
It's completely free.
Right.
It doesn't cost anything to you. And basically what we do is our job to help guide you on your needs and wants.
Yeah.
Make sure you sit with your realtor, make sure that they're explaining to you, or you're explaining to them actually, what it is that you're looking for, because they know the market, they know the areas. We're experts here in Central Florida, so we're able to guide you and let you know if you want to buy a house for $150,000 and you want a 2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, we can guide you on how to get to that location. It may not be in downtown Orlando, or it may not be in Orlando, but we may find you something in Haines City or Winter Haven if you're willing to take the drive. So talk to a realtor. It's completely free and it really does help guide you.
We could also help you with new builds. A lot of people think that you have to work with the person who's at the location of the new build, and they don't really know that, well, maybe they don't understand that that person is working for the builder. That person is not looking for your best interest. That person is not going to try to get you the best deal, even though they say they might. It's always best to get a professional that's not, directly affiliated with that build, because that way he or she can definitely get that job done for you and look out for your best interest 100%.
Yes, and now it's story time with Yoshi.
Oh God.
I've actually had 2 separate clients. One client worked with me and another client was my client, and they just went into a new build without informing me, and they just kind of went. The first client, I was able to actually get them into a home. I went into the builder with them and I actually negotiated the price down from that new build, $15,000.
Yeah.
The second client went to a new build, called me a week later, and they were like, Yoshi, we have great news. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we got a house at a new build. And I was like, at a new build? I was like, I wasn't there. What's going on? So they signed a contract to get a new build, and they actually purchased it at what the builder was selling it for. So this is why it's super important. Even if it's $5,000 that a realtor is able to save you, $5,000 is $5,000 that you don't have to pay at the end. So please make sure that you sit down with a realtor, whether it's us, whether it's whoever you choose. Just make sure that you are with somebody that's going to be able to educate, guide you, and protect you, and save you money.
That's what it's all about at the end of the day, is your best interest.
Exactly. So who's the next key player?
So the next key player that I would say is, we talked about the lender, it's super important. It would be the inspector. Now, a lot of people get a little bit confused when it comes to the inspection or the inspector, because they're like, do I have to do it? Do I don't have to do it? And you technically don't, but we would always 100%, at least we do, recommend that you do. And why is that? You gotta think about it like this. You're about to buy a high value asset. Buying a house, it's not cheap, And before you commit yourself to that, you want to make sure that you're okay with the things that the house has. You know, sometimes the roof may not be good, or sometimes it might be good. Sometimes, you know, the flooring has some cracks, or there may be some mold, or there may be some, you know, things that are breaking down, or maybe there may not be, but you don't know that unless you get an inspector to go out there and inspect the property. And then once that's done, you can have a better understanding of what the conditions are, and then you can make decisions like, hey, I want this property, or maybe I should walk away from this property. And that way, when that time comes, you have a better understanding of what that property is, and you can make an educated decision based on that.
It's the best couple of $100 that you're gonna spend.
Yeah, it's like $350, $450 maybe, depending on the size of the house.
Even if it's $500, let me tell you, $500 is worth nothing if you buy a house that has a bad roof, and that's a $10,000 fix. And you could have gotten that taken care of, or gotten your realtor to negotiate that being fixed for you, or walked away from the property and it would have cost you a couple of $100, and now you're in the hole for thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I like to say it like this. So when you get the inspection report, that's like the blueprint, right? Because essentially you're gonna see what's, for the most part, everything that's wrong with the property or that's right with the property. And once you have that blueprint in front of you, you can then sit down with your realtor, he or she, and then make a game plan. How are you gonna negotiate, like Yoshi just said, with the seller, and make sure that you get everything that you want fixed, or at least credited for you down the road. So
yeah, and if the seller doesn't want to do that, then you have the opportunity to walk out, hands-free cleared, and go with your realtor and find something else that's gonna work out for you.
Yeah, and that's what we call an inspection period. We won't dive into too much into it to not confuse you, but usually there's an inspection period where you can get this done, and then you can decide, hey, I want the property, or I think I should walk away.
Exactly. And we were just talking about new builds.
Yeah.
Talking about going with a realtor to a new build.
Yeah.
Another thing that you should do in a new build is get an inspector. Super important. You're gonna hear a lot of myths, and this is another myth that you hear, at least from my parents, I heard when I was growing up, is like, if you get a house that's brand new, you don't ever have to get an inspection because it's brand new.
Even our other clients, our past clients.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works.
Get an inspection. It's story time with Yoshi again.
Part two.
That same client that I actually had that purchased a home that we negotiated the price down with, they actually got an inspection on the property, and they found that the vents were not cut out. So there was airflow that was being restricted into the property. The only reason that they were able to realize that happened was because they got an inspection.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against the builder. We're human, we all make errors. This can happen anywhere. We make mistakes, and it's something that just occurs. And the best and most important thing to do is make sure that it gets taken care of. The builder was more than happy. He took care of it immediately. Obviously, apologize and make sure that it was done. But it may not have gotten caught for months.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have moved in. So just get an inspection. I'm telling you guys, it's the best money that you're gonna spend, and you're gonna be able to literally, what Alvin said, see the blueprint of your house and see the ins and outs of it, just like you would want to go to the doctor for the ins and outs of your body. It's the body of your property, and you want to know how it's worth.
That's a great analogy.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. Let's talk about the last key player, which this person is actually a third party that we don't have any option on choosing.
Nobody does.
No.
So this person is the appraiser, and you may have heard of that name in the past. Some of you may not know who that even is, and let's kind of break this down as simple as possible for you. So the appraiser is essentially someone that the bank hires to make sure that the property that you are purchasing is actually worth the price you're getting it at. So what that means is, so let's say you buy a house you bought it at $200,000, right? You went under contract for $200,000.
I bought a house.
You bought a house.
Okay, Yoshi bought a house for $200,000. Okay, I'm ready.
Yoshi bought a house for $200,000. Then the bank goes, or the lender says, let's go ahead and send an appraiser to see what this property is actually worth. And the appraiser goes out there and it says, you can have three scenarios. The appraiser can go out there and say, boom, the house is actually worth $200,000, right? And that's perfect. You want that. Great. Or they can say, hey, we bought the house for $200,000, but the house is actually worth $210,000.
Ooh.
That is like you just hit a pot of gold. Congratulations, you have what we call equity.
Oh my God. Yoshi's a happy boy.
Christmas already. And you may have a third option, that is that the house on the appraiser's And that's not necessarily a good thing, because what's happening then is the house, you got it for $200,000, and the appraiser, it's human as well. Sometimes we may or may not agree with what they appraise it at, but it may appraise on there. Let's say appraised at $195. Yoshi's house appraised at $195. So that $5,000 difference, what happens is the bank is going to say, okay, well, you wanted to buy the house for $200,000. The house is worth for $195. Who's going to come up with that $5,000 difference? Because we're not going to lend that. So then that's where a situation comes where either A, the buyer has to come up with the difference, B, the seller has to come up with the difference, or C, both of you come up with the difference, and then you make an agreement as far as who comes up with what to make sure that you're able to hit that that 200,000 mark, because that's what you agreed on.
Or D. I'm gonna be D. There's no difference.
Or no difference, and you walk away.
And you walk away. The seller doesn't want to bring it down, and you are not gonna bring up the difference.
Yep, exactly. So it's super important to know what an appraiser is, how it's gonna affect you, and remember, you don't really have any control as far as who the appraiser is, because that's something the bank chooses. But it's important to understand what they do exactly.
Exactly. So something else that we want to talk to you guys about, and us, I think, as millennials, we do this when we're going anywhere. We're choosing a service. We make sure that we do our research, and we recommend that you do the same.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be with the realtor that you choose, this is going to be with the inspector that you choose, and this is also going to be with the lender that you choose. So all three of those people. Obviously, when you work with a lender, they'll usually recommend a realtor because they've worked with that realtor and they know their process, and the realtor will then recommend an inspectors. So it's kind of like by association, people will recommend people to you. But if you're brand new and you absolutely don't know anyone at all, please make sure that you do your research. Getting lender opinions costs you absolutely nothing. Once you get the first one, you can get, I think it's like 5 or 6, or it may be more than that. Check with your local lender, and they don't lower your credit at all. Yeah, so go evaluate and check which lender is going to be working best for you, because some lenders, they're down payment assistance experts.
It just means that everyone has their specialty, and you got to understand what your goal is, what your situation is, and that way, based on that, you can choose, okay, well, if this lender works with people like me as far as my situation, then it might make more sense for me to work with him or her, or vice versa with the realtor. So it's always important to understand what your current situation is and what your goal is, to then be able to choose somebody that can accommodate that.
Exactly. So make sure that you choose somebody that understands your situation and is able to accommodate it and help you get into the process and hopefully end the process with home ownership.
Yeah, 100%. You know, so one thing that we want to talk about is starter homes.
That's a misconception as well, and it's something that our parents, and at least our grandparents, when they would talk to us about starter homes, if you didn't know, we're cousins.
Yeah, that's how we do the reference a lot.
Our grandparents, they would talk about starter homes, and when they were referring to a starter home, a lot of them were talking about rehab homes.
Yeah.
There's a complete difference.
Yeah.
A starter home and a rehab home is not the same thing.
Break down what a starter home is, and then I'll go ahead and break down a rehab, just so they can get both sides.
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to talk to you guys what a starter home is. So a starter home is the start of whatever your main goal is going to be in the future. So let's say some people have their goal is to have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and it's going to be in Avalon Park or in downtown Orlando.
Yeah.
They want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in downtown Orlando. Well, when they start buying or start the process to buy a home, they learn that they're only qualified for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath at approximately $150,000. You probably are not going to be able to buy, or there's no probably, you're not going to be able to buy something in downtown Orlando for that amount.
Yeah.
So a starter home is a beginning home that's going to get you and guide you or get you to the process of your main goal, which is going to be that downtown Orlando. So with the 150, you may be able to buy a house in Winter Haven or Dundee. And you'll be able to buy a house there if you're willing to do the drive. And then in a couple of years, you'll sell that, hopefully make some equity out of it and some profit, and then get to the ultimate goal, which is going to be the house in downtown Orlando.
Yeah. So a rehab home is essentially a home that needs to be fixed up. It's not livable. It's not move-in ready. You need to fix the floors, the kitchen. Maybe there's something wrong with the roof, that it's leaking. A rehab home is literally what it says, rehab. The house needs to be fixed up and brought back to life, I like to say. So it's definitely important to know the difference. That way, when you move forward, you can understand the options you have.
Yeah. So another thing that we want to make sure that we talk to you guys about is going to be location.
Yeah.
Location. So here, as the Central Florida real estate experts that we are, We just want to let you guys know that location is super important, but there's kind of two different things with location. We see a lot of millennials that are moving into, what's the area? Winter
Garden?
Winter Garden area,
Winter Park.
Park area, which are very expensive areas to live in. So not all of us can afford that.
Yeah.
I know I couldn't afford the house that I just bought in Winter Garden or
Yeah.
Winter Park, so I moved by the UCF area. So it's all about location. I was able to sacrifice the location that obviously I would want in the future because we have a starter home, me and AJ now. And what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be moving later into the location that we wanna be at. So what we're talking the location about is because being in Clearmont or being in maybe Groveland or being in Davenport, which is a little bit further than what you're used to, can get you a bigger house for a lower price versus being in Orlando where you're gonna get a smaller house for a much bigger price.
Yeah.
So, Alvin, explain to them why it's important, the location.
The closer you are to the downtown area, to the city, you're gonna see that houses are gonna be more expensive. You know, houses are gonna sometimes be a little bit smaller as well. So with that in mind, when you kind of move out to the outskirts of the city, you start seeing things that are, one, a little bit bigger, and two, a little bit more affordable, because the farther you are from the main city, the cheaper the homes are. And I understand some of you may be thinking, well, man, I gotta be driving now, my commute's gonna be longer. And yeah, that may be the case for some of you, but like I said, write down the numbers, right? What exactly is it gonna cost you if you stay and pay rent? What is it gonna cost you? And maybe you have to pay a little bit more gas, but you're not paying as much rent. But location, rule of thumb, the further you are from downtown, the houses tend to be a little bit bigger, and they tend, for the most part, to be a little bit more affordable.
Yeah, and just because you're in a farther location doesn't mean that you can't use the tips that we gave you in another video, which is make sure you house hack. If you're accustomed to living with your parents or you're accustomed to being with a roommate, hey, even if you're living close or you're living far and this is gonna be your first home and you're afraid of this big commitment that you're doing, house hack, get a roommate, make sure that you try to subsidize your costs so that this becomes more affordable for you.
100%.
That's what a lot of us do. It just makes sense. So.
It does. Yeah, so guys, we hope this was, very informative for you guys. We hope that we were able to give you some information. We know we kind of threw a lot at you, but it's super important that you know this because we want to make sure that you go into 2020 strong and you have some goals written up, and that way you can accomplish those goals. Yoshi, did you want to say anything else before we kind of sign off?
I do. I want to make sure that you guys know that we understand exactly the process that you guys are going through, and we're millennials as well. So we want to make sure that we guide you and that we help you. If you have any questions that you feel that we didn't answer, please, we're going to have our information down in the bio. Please reach out to us. We would love to talk to you. Like we said, there's no commitment. We're able to guide you and we're able to educate you.
Once again, have a great Thursday. We hope this helped, like I said. And other than that, stay beautiful, stay blessed.
Stop renting and invest your money. This is Yoshi, and the Lazo team is signing out.
Peace.